The 1000th CCF project was Bike for Good's VeloCommunities project. And as part of that, many of you will know, particularly if you were in Ben's workshop today, they had the privilege of working with a filmmaker over the course of a year to chart the story of Bike for Good and to share some of that through film. So we're going to show a part of that film now, and I'm going to apologize to the filmmakers. We're not going to show the full 24 minutes, but we're going to show about the first half of that, and which will give you, we wanted, again, to try and bring some of the energy of these amazing communities and the people we work with into the room today. So after the film, we're also going to have the chance to talk to a couple of people who are involved in the project to find out a little bit more about why they did this and what they've learned from it. But before we do that, let's just watch a chunk of the Bike for Good film, if the guys at the back can sort that for us.
Are you ready? Yes! 3, 2, go!
This is a film about cycling. Yeah. And climate change. Can you give me a definition of climate change?
Yes, I've written one down. Climate change is the name given to the very big changes and shifts in our weather and atmosphere that are happening, caused by, amongst other things, the amount of a gas called carbon dioxide being released into the atmosphere by human beings when they do things like drive cars, fly in planes, or burn coal to make power. That's a big car going past, just to illustrate our point.
Bike for Good! Bike for Good! Community hub!
Yeah, so my role is embedded artist, and together with Geraldine Heaney, hi!
Hello.
We were asked to make a film to document the VeloCommunities project. What is VeloCommunities?
So VeloCommunities is a climate challenge funded project which covers south and west from our 2 hubs, and it's working with our local communities to encourage them to leave petrol guzzling vehicles and ride a bike and mitigate towards limiting effects on climate change.
VeloCommunities is the 1000th project to be funded by the Climate Challenge Fund. 1000 projects which aim to tackle the climate emergency. VeloCommunities is a project about changing people's behaviour, changing how people travel around the city, encouraging them to use less carbon-emitting transports and to cycle more. There's a number of different free activities offered by the project across the city. We spent time at the community hub in the south side. We met lots of people. And we were always warmly welcomed.
Welcome to Bike for Good. Today we're going to answer some questions. Okay, did you enjoy the Good for Bikes with Hannah? We enjoyed that so much, and I love the games that we played. It's a humongous like. Yeah, it's for all ages.
All ages.
Yeah. Except for babies. Yeah. For babies. Except you could start from 3 or 4 up to like 20 or 30. Even more.
Can you not go? Oh, yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. All right, let's go and to bike for good.
I guess what sort of, I suppose, was really surprising and exciting for us is that whilst this is an organisation that's dealing in carbon reduction, it's a really joyful place, it's a really fun place, and a lot of that information that is important, but it's overwhelming and it's hard to hear and it makes you feel a bit sad and a bit desperate. I felt like it was the polar opposite of hanging out with these young people who are just full of life and energy and vitality.
Where we walk, this is where you have a little bit fun. This is Angus, the worker. Yeah. These are the workers. They help the workers. Say hi to the video. Elders, say hi. So, and those are the bikes for sale behind you. And these are the bikes for sale right here. And then here's the toilet. Here's all of the
Very cool.
As we all think about how to deal with climate change, it's increasingly clear that we are making the future right now. A future that these young people will have to live in.
Alright, Lewis,
Oh, yeah.
how is it to ride a bike?
It's brilliant to ride a bike. It feels really fun and really joyful, and it's quite tiring, but in a really good way, in a way that makes you feel more awake. So that's how it's like to ride a bike.
Yanko, do you like seeing your friends and going in the park? Of course I do.
So we have quite an active engagement programme where we do lots of fun events that people can attend and show their interest. So we do free doctor bikes in both sites, where if you've got an old bike that's lying about in the shed or the garage and it hasn't been used for a while, we can service that and get you back on. But the whole point is engagement, chatting to people. We do events out in local parks and local places where we chat to people about the project. So we can do a bike buddying system. So we can do the journey with you. We can do lots of travel planning. We can teach you some simple maintenance through our maintenance classes. If you've not got a bike, we can give you access to a bike. So we've got Next Bike memberships, which we can give you. We've got a loan bike scheme where we can give you access to a bike for a couple of weeks so you can try, see how it fits in with your lifestyle before you invest in getting a bike. And all of this is free because it's funded through a Climate Challenge Fund. So we can get these people active on a bike for little or no cost to them.
So today we're fixing our bikes. Then in the shine. Then if it was gonna be raining, we're just gonna go inside.
Push it right down at the end so we can see how far it fits.
What did you say, Jamie?
You said Lewis will be the best bike mechanic in Scotland.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that's it, man.
Just a few days shy of that title.
How do you feel about that, Lewis?
I think it's long overdue that I was titled the best bike mechanic in Scotland. I fixed one brake and attached a bike rack, so that doesn't get me the title.
What
will?
does? Bike for Good have grown from a wee stall at the Barrows in 2010 to having over 50 people working with them, and they're getting thousands of people cycling across the city.
I was kind of scared, but somebody always comes with me. They help me very good way. They were so good, and even though sometimes I feel like I'm never gonna learn this, even I try my best and then I'll be a little bit disappointed, and they said, no, you will learn it, you will do it, you will do it, and this thing make me, yes, I can do it.
As I started Bike for Good here, I learned these skills and I took them home, and I was actually fixing my own bike. And then I did a course in the West End, and they gave me a free bike at the end of the course. So now that's my go-to-go bike.
I put together a bucket list of things that I wanted to achieve. One of those things was cycling, and Bike for Good was, in the local area, convenient for me. I approached them and asked them, if they've got any kind of lessons or anything like that I could actually learn to cycle. And that's when the journey started. I was able to come in every kind of Saturday dedicate like an hour to coming in and learning to cycle. The instructors were absolutely fantastic. Really encouraging, very motivational, and really their passion for cycling is absolutely infectious. I think I've got the cycling bug, really.
I've really enjoyed, since coming here, like doing an activity that's mostly outdoors, and the kind of attitude that it's whatever the weather.
So I do the ladies' rides on Thursdays, and we've been all over Glasgow. We've found, little secret routes that get you into the city centre or out to the parks, and it's been really good for my confidence, and I really, really enjoy the rides, just enjoy the social interaction with everybody.
I went along to the Thursday morning women's only group lesson and met someone who was getting on a bike for the first time ever.
Come on, get a picture of me.
Yeah!
Oh, well, that was a fantastic film, and I think, Alistair, can you say if that's available to watch from the website?
Yep.
So you can go onto the CCF website and be able to watch it in full and enjoy it. That's certainly really inspiring. And we're going to have just a few minutes to talk with Gemma Lawrence from Creative Carbon Scotland, who is involved with the filming, and Lorna Dubbs from Bike for Good, who can tell us a little bit more about the film and how they hope to use it. So come on up. So the first question is, sit steady there, is really about the film and why you decided to go ahead and make the film and what you hoped by making of that film. What does that add to the project, add to what you're trying to achieve?
So as you heard, the film was originally commissioned by the Scottish Government to document the 1000th project funded through the Climate Challenge Fund. And I think we started out with quite a simple aim of telling the story of an example of community-led action on climate change in Scotland. And I think one of the interesting things that comes out at the later stages in the film, and hopefully in the section that you've watched so far, was the idea that tackling climate change doesn't need to be all about the sort of negative aspects or sacrifices that we need to make, that there's actually all sorts of positive benefits to come from it. And stories like Bike for Good are an amazing example of the type of world that we want to build. And I think that was something we felt was really exciting about the film, is that we could present that idea and activate imaginations about the type of society we want to be building when we're talking about moving towards a more sustainable society. So, yeah.
So the work that we do at Bike for Good is so sort of nuanced, and it's so wide-ranging and really embedded in the community that we sort of work in, that it's often quite difficult to explain precisely what it is that we do. So say from sort of taking someone's hand and taking them through the shop day by day, minute by minute, showing them exactly what it is that we're up to, it's really quite difficult to really express that. But we felt this film does a good job of describing it in a really sort of engaging way, and it's just so exciting to watch it actually, because you can kind of get bogged down in the day-to-day dull computery bits, and it really just reminds us of like the exciting outcomes that we sort of managed to get through to every single day. So yeah, we really felt this film did a good job of expressing that.
Great, thanks. And the benefits, it wasn't just a one-off film, but you actually had, you were embedded in the project for how long was it for?
The artists were working with Bike for Good for about 15 months. So we produced a sort of first teaser film that was shown at last year's Climate Challenge Fund Gathering, so some of you might have seen that. And then we had another 12 or so months to make this version, and I think one of the nice things about that is that the artists weren't just then parachuted in to come and present their picture of it. They could build relationships with the after-school bike club and other users of the charity, as well as the members of staff there. And what that meant was that they could present a much more rounded view of all sorts of different perspectives and experiences of the charity of Bike for Good. So yeah, having that sort of more rounded view was something that they were able to present through being there over a longer time frame. Yeah, and having the artists be with us for such a long time really meant that we had sort of an outsider's point of view, and they were sort of asking us questions that we weren't necessarily going to be asking ourselves. It's really great to have that kind of like exterior mirror every now and then. So having them in every day going like, oh, what's this about? What are you doing there? It actually really helped us to have a bit of perspective on like questioning the sort of activities that we run as well. So it was a great experience for us too. I think we gained a lot from it, as well as the actual film that you saw there too.
And I'm sure many projects would love to have that experience themselves, but of course they're not all the thousandth project that will have the benefit of having a commission done. Do you have any advice for how projects might be able to get some of these sort of benefits on a smaller scale, and maybe doing a bit of DIY filming? Don't know what you might suggest.
Yeah, well, I think like a lot of Climate Challenge funded projects, I think often do involve creative elements and artistic activities. So I don't think it necessarily requires an artist to be part of that process. Most people have cameras on their phones that they can use. There's all sorts of free software out there that we can access to make films ourselves. And actually, there's all sorts of things at our fingertips. Hopefully, this film, although it's based in Glasgow, provides a sense of that possibility that there's all sorts of amazing stories to tell out there, and it's available online. So hopefully, that inspiration can continue to spread. Yep. I'm assuming a lot of different sort of organisations might constantly be documenting what it is that they do, but don't necessarily kind of show those stories to the public. And they may have case studies where it's like one person's story, like the woman at the end there who you saw learning how to ride a bike. She actually did the Pedal for Scotland this year as well, which was really exciting for her and us. So you might have those like really personal stories that were expressed here in this film. They're really, people want to hear those. They are so engaging. There's something about that personal touch, or photographs, just sharing them online. I think, it seems like a really engaging way to just capture people's imagination. So just photos or stories, they could work too. It doesn't have to be a full-blown feature film.
And you've shared a little bit, but how do you think you'll use that Bike for Good? How will you use the film going forward? And how can it actually help with your project?
Yeah, so I've said that it's such important or a great tool for sort of capturing imagination. So we have shared it loads on our social media websites already. But just having a film format that's already kind of like already encapsulates exactly what we do just in that. It means we can share it to people so easily. So it can be kind of screened at different events, or we can kind of direct people from our website to it, or on blog spaces. It's really great. We've kind of put all the work in there already. We now don't need to sort of roll out any more work. We just share that link and away it goes. So it's really helpful tool for us.
And is there anything at Creative carbon that you've learned from the process that you're now thinking about in new projects that you might apply?
Yeah, certainly. I think, like I said, that chance to have work over longer time frames can be very beneficial. I think if you're trying to generate those stories of behaviour change and social change happening over longer time frames. I've personally just found it a very inspiring experience to be able to work with Bike for Good, and Lauren and I were talking earlier about the importance of community action alongside infrastructure developments. So, for example, the South City Way is being developed at the moment very close to where the Southside Hub is on Victoria Road in Glasgow. And the sort of making those connections, I think, is quite an exciting opportunity for artists as well to sort of show that bigger picture of how change is taking place, and that community action links up with that sort of larger structural change as well. So I think that's something I'm quite interested in thinking about for future artist briefs, how you can make those connections of how communities are working together in cities to bring about those changes.
Yes, and that almost takes us full circle round to what we were hearing from Rob Hopkins this morning when he was talking about the importance of creativity and the use of art and artists, of how that frees the mind to think, to imagine the future. And so I guess it's a pitch to all groups to see how they can use creativity and art in their projects and create space for that, if there is the capacity to do so. So please do try to touch base with either Lorna or Gemma after the event, or I'm sure they can contact you afterwards. You can reach contact details through the CCF, I'm sure. And thank you very much, and congratulations on the film.
Yeah,